Barbara Reiss reporting for Totally East Brunswick. We have a wonderful guest here today. Welcome to our Mayor, David Stahl.
Hi, Barbara. How are you?
Good, good, and congratulations to you on your recent win.
Thank you.
So tell us, now that you can look ahead, we have a lot ahead of us for us in East Brunswick. Tell us some of your thoughts, what's coming up for us in East Brunswick.
Well, first I want to thank the support of the voters and the residents in the recent election. We've achieved a lot over the last 4 years. The nation's economy is still in a little bit of shambles. We had to deal with the rising unemployment rates and the declining market rates, but I think through concerted efforts of myself, the Township Council, and the residents, some shared sacrifices, we've put East Brunswick back on the grounds for fiscal stability. Looking ahead, look, if you read the papers today, you're still talking about this alleged financial cliff that we're going to be facing in 2013 as a lot of the tax credits and other programs that may exist at the federal government are starting to cease and additional burdens with respect to health care kick in, so they're going to present new economic challenges. For myself, looking ahead, obviously the storm has reminded us how fragile our infrastructure is. So one of the things that I'm going to be balancing, quite frankly, early on in 2013 is looking at our own infrastructure, which performed incredibly well throughout the storm, and we'll go into that later during the course of this program. But it also showed some of the additional needs that the township will have. So it is going to be another balancing act as we move forward. And as I said, during the course of this year, I'd like to add back some of our programs that may have been cut while we had those sacrifices to get us back to fiscal stability. So it's going to be an interesting time.
Are there any particular goals, let's say one or two, that you want to take care of on Route 18 right away that you want to start with?
Well, on 18, I think that we're going to, one of the things that I am examining right now is another analysis as how we can continue to improve on the growth that we're already seeing on the 18 corridor. I think there's some different avenues that I'm going to be looking at in 2013, something that I certainly will be discussing with the Township Council in January. But I think on a whole, I think what's important is the continuing balancing of, from my conservative approach of not wanting to get too far ahead economically in terms of what I'm going to make the township do until I know with more certainty where we are. It is going to be, like I said, extremely challenging from an economic standpoint going forward. I'll take, for example, the issues with some of our parks, which came up during the course of the latter part of this year. And I still make the commitment to improve those parks, but like I said, this storm has shown some other weaknesses that need improvements, and again, it's going to be a balancing act not only for myself, but for the Township Council on deciding how we're going to spend township dollars.
So, like you said, the hurricane has been a main priority for you now. Moving forward, and you're looking at what happened and what's going to happen. Are there going to be more storms? They're talking about more strong storms coming in the future, and you're talking about infrastructure. What are some of your plans in that regard?
Well, I mean, let's first talk about what did take place in terms of, first, the preparedness of the town. And I'd like to say that the township employees performed unbelievably well. The team effort from the dedicated professionals that work for the township, the volunteers with the 3 different fire districts and the rescue squad, was unbelievable. The teamwork between departments was fantastic. These employees were working double shifts, nonstop for an extended period of time, because not only did you have the hurricane, you had the nor'easter that followed that created additional problems. But we were prepared. Going back to the weeks before the storm, John Cossack, who's the head of our OEM, was already starting to get us prepared. Obviously, once we knew with more certainties the storm was going to hit and follow the tracking, we started to meet daily. And not only was with the township employees, but we brought in the Board of Education, we brought in all the different fire districts, the rescue squad, some large property owners that would be involved, particularly like the mall, which could potentially become a staging area. So we had our plan well developed. In the days preceding the storm, each department took extra precaution to prepare for the storm. For example, the Parks Department, the tree crews went out and cleared as much trees as they could. DPW, Department of Public Works, went out and tried to clean as many storm basins, particularly the storm basins that we knew would always present issues. We had them cleaned out in advance of the storm. The issues that we learned during Hurricane Irene with respect to the Vanderwater, where that area where you have the rain that would flow underneath the turnpike. We made sure the turnpike culvert, which is their responsibility, we made sure it was clear. So we took all precautions. The water and sewer department made sure all their equipment was up, all their generators were operational. So a lot of work went in the days preceding the storm. Obviously, then when the storm hits, you just have to deal with whatever the effects are. We lost the township buildings went black as everyone else did in town for a period of time. We have generators in the municipal building which powered the Office of Emergency Management and our police department, but not the rest of Town Hall. So when you talk about looking to the future, one of the things that I'm going to be assessing now and talking to the Township Council is government needs to work. So we need to improve the infrastructure in the municipal building so that we can be operational all the time no matter what's thrown at us. The library, we back up here as well, and you see how important public information is, and EBTV had difficulties at times because of your own system here. So we're going to look at all the different township buildings to make sure that we have the infrastructure that we need. Because we joke, sometimes I joke with Chief Krause, since he took over for Barry Roberson, we've had a number of storms. And I'm not blaming Bill, but look, from Hurricane Irene to the early snowstorm of last year to, again, this hurricane, we've had 3 very large weather-related incidents in town that really have shown the fragility of the infrastructure, not of us, but more or less from the power companies. And they're not within the control of this municipality or any other municipality. It's strictly up to the power companies and the Board of Public Utilities. But we need to prepare, in my opinion, and both as a municipality and as a homeowner, how are you going to deal with an infrastructure that you know is going to suffer? So that's one thing that I'm going to be looking at.
So response-wise, the township and yourself worked very hard to be communicative with the community. Tell us some of there was Twitter and there were other ways that you reached out to the community. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, one thing, again, we learned from Hurricane Irene and the subsequent storm, and we'll learn again how to improve even after this storm. Communication, we definitely improved over the last couple of storms. We made sure that we could use EBTV as much as possible, again, subject to the power constraints, and we'll work on that as well. We used Twitter. We used the Nixle program, which is through the police department. We used our reverse 911 system. We used the social media, Facebook. I mean, pretty much every avenue that we could, we tried to do our best on that. But, even residents after the storm have talked to me about the old-fashioned ways where I think, quite frankly, that we let down a little bit, and we're going to improve on that. For instance, a resident came to me and said, for those of us that are not into the electronic media, so to speak, and even if you are, some people lost the ability to have access to their phones or equipment just to the loss of power and the inability to charge that equipment. We know that at the end of the day, once the storm had passed and people were able to travel, they were going to go to the grocery stores. One thing that I'm going to work on is, having a information sheet posted where we know people are going to go out of their basic needs, that will provide some basic information, and we could change that daily. Another resident came to me, and I thought it was another wonderful idea that I'll try to work on, is going back to almost similar to like the Neighborhood Watch, where you have individuals in certain neighborhoods where if I can get, same thing, a printed piece of paper as to what's occurring, and it's safe for them to go out, travel door to door and hand out literature. So those are old-fashioned way of doing it. People said, why don't we send police around with the bullhorns, kind of with their speakers? That's very difficult because, quite frankly, we were dealing with no traffic lights. We had, thankfully, the County of Middlesex was wonderful. They provided some additional police officers to supplement our force that was working double shift. But again, we're always going to improve. I don't care what you do in life, there's always abilities to make it better. I think we did a great job compared to past practices. And I'm hoping, certainly within the next 4 years, that we don't have another one of these. But if we do, we will continue to improve.
Absolutely. Well, just from being a resident myself, I saw the garbage pickup was really quick for this kind of thing you see on TV, other places where the garbage piled up in other towns. Ours was picked up right away, a lot of the debris was picked up.
We made an effort, even from going back to preparing for the storm. I made the decision to close the recycling center in advance of the storm, so that, again, those crews that typically work at the recycling center can prepare for the storm by cleaning out storm drains or other things. Once we knew the storm was going to hit, I opened it up on that Saturday and Sunday to allow residents immediately to start taking their debris to the recycling center. I just want to thank Boy Scouts Troop 223, who came out on Saturday and Sunday to help residents unload their debris, and that made things even move more quickly there, so I wanted to thank the Boy Scouts for helping the community. We made the decision right away that once the storm passed and it was safe for our crews to get out and clear the garbage, they were going to do that. So I think on Wednesday we started picking up garbage immediately, and we made the effort first to pick up solid waste, not the debris, because we didn't want running garbage in front of our residents' home. So we made a pass through the town, collected all of the solid waste. I contacted the freehold director, Chris Rufano, with respect to opening the landfill extra hours on Saturday, because our trucks can go out full, but if they can't unload and come back and do additional pickups, we would have lost a day. So the county was great. They extended the hours on Saturday at the landfill, not only benefited East Brunswick, but all the other municipalities in the county. And we've made the pass through. Right now we are collecting pretty much everything that's out there. We again encourage residents to have trees no longer than 4 foot. Don't need to bundle it, get it all to the curb. We're picking up bag leaves right now, in the process of that. So we're picking up bag leaves and debris, and we'll try to also pick up the loose trees, leaves that have not been bagged. My goal is, today we're taping this on November 14th. We've got Thanksgiving coming up next week. I've instructed staff to work basically through the weekend so that we can at least get through the entire town once before the night of Wednesday the 21st, if I've got my math right, dates right, so that when people have parties at the house to celebrate Thanksgiving, there'll at least be parking available for friends and family. Town won't be spotless, but I want to make one entire pass throughout the town by the 21st.
And another effort that you had during the storm was providing gas for people for their generators, and a lot of people were so thankful for that. Maybe you could explain how that came about.
It was a fluke, spur-of-the-moment decision by myself. I had gone home just to catch a few hours sleep because we were putting in long hours. And as I pulled into the parking lot at the municipal building, a tanker trailer was filling up our gas tank for our police department. And I sat there, and I've seen the lines at the gas stations were lengthy, not only for people who wanted just to get gas for their cars, but particularly for those for generators to provide some kind of heat for their house. And it also presented challenges for our police department in that they were backing up the Route 18 and all the other things. So I thought, if I had enough gas for my municipal workers, for public safety, and for my public workers, and I had extra, and I knew I could get more, why not open it up to the residents for their generators? Shorter lines for them, discounted price, and that way I get their vehicles off of 18, presenting less of a hazard for everyone else traveling on the roads. So it worked out well. I want to congratulate Dan Lossick, who really made sure, who's Assistant Director at Department of Public Works. He made sure that the gas supply was coming in, so we were able to make sure our needs first as a municipality were met, and then provide that service to the residents. And then, you start to see more gas stations open up that alleviated the lines. So it was great that we were able to offer that, when it was needed.
And a lot of people use them for home generators also, to help them. So it actually helped alleviate some of the heating issues in town as well. Now, I guess if you're talking about getting ready, preparedness for the next time, we hope there's no next time, but the storms have been getting rougher in general. The nor'easters are rougher in Manhattan. They've been talking about being more prepared as well in other cities of the world. What can residents do to prepare for these kind of events?
Well, I think the first thing they should do is the same thing that we do in Town Hall. We always have a post-event assessment of how we performed. And I would ask that residents take into account, do the same thing on your own house. What did you notice during the storm that you could have done better? From, again, those people that weren't able to contact the town or hear the information from the town. What could you do, while I look for avenues to improve what I can do as a municipality, what can you do as a resident to improve your communication? Have you signed up for a Global Connect? Whether it's a landline, a cell phone, you can put a number of phone lines in there. It's not just one. You're not limited. Have you signed up for Nixle, which is another, like I said, to our police department, just go on nixle.com and look up East Brunswick and you can sign up. Have you joined the Twitter, whether it's myself, Austin Cossack, head of OEM, Bill Kraus, the Deputy Chief of Police, and I'll say from my Twitter, I know a lot of people use it for, I had dinner here. I keep my Twitter strictly township business. I don't think people really care where I have my dinner. So it is an information source of what's occurring in the town. I strictly keep it to municipal purposes. Another thing is, we got a number of requests from people who had issues with their medicines or oxygen tanks. Same way as, like I said, we went out and cleaned out storm drains. True, not every storm that they predict actually hits, but my motto is, for the township, we always prepare for the worst, because if it doesn't happen, we're better off. So residents should do the same. Do you have enough medicine in the house for an extended period of time? Do you need a second oxygen tank to supplement what would be normal? If you don't, where can you go in advance? Because we don't have all those resources. So you should always find out, what is your secondary plan? Did you have enough blankets in the house? Do you want to go out and get a generator? And if you get a generator, do you know how to use it properly? Unfortunately, we had a couple instances where people put a generator too close to a house, had a fire. So we had other people that were affected by the fumes. So just because you buy a generator, there's responsibilities that come with it. Know how to operate it. So those are the type of things I would encourage people to do.
Well, I know for myself, the Nixle also was excellent. I still get texts from Nixle, but it's useful, and in fact, you can even text them to join, as well as the email. And for those that aren't familiar, it's the police departments from the local area. Each
department does that, so you can sign up for multiple. I mean, you can sign. I follow a number of them because you also want to know what's occurring in your surrounding communities that might later impact East Brunswick. But even if I go back to things that we can improve upon. I think one thing also I learned during the storm, and something that, as I look at the budget in 2013, it was very hard for me to juggle what I'm required to do as mayor during the management of the storm. And again, thankfully, I have a tremendous staff, and then at the same time try to get information out. I think it's important that I'm at least looking to assess whether I have, and I don't know what I would call it, but a communications officer. Not 24/7, but when you have a crisis, you need to have the ability to get that information out and not take you away from the more important task. So that's something we need to look at. And I'll go back to your question, what can residents do? I have a favor to ask of residents. What I would ask residents to do, one of the most frustrating parts of this entire storm was dealing with the public utilities. So I try to tell residents, who, for the most part, were tremendous in terms of their resiliency here in East Brunswick and their understanding. Neither myself nor anyone who works for the township can go out and hang up your electrical wire. Only two companies in this town, JCP&L and PNSCG, have the power to do that. They improved their communication from Hurricane Irene, but they are nowhere near where they should be. And the most frustrating thing that I heard from residents was the lack of information as to when their power is going to be restored. And from my standpoint, I'm getting it from two sides. I want to supply that information, but I can tell you in phone calls with the public utilities, they were not going to share specific information with towns. They made that quite clear. And I think one of the things that the residents can do to help me do my job better on their behalf is put pressure on the BPU, the Board of Public Utilities, to require the power companies to be even more responsive to municipalities. And one of the things that I'm going to be lobbying for is I have a rep, let's say for both power companies, who's responsible for communicating with me. During normal, and he's not just Mayor Stahl's rep, he's a rep for a large area in the state. That works normal times when everything, is honky-dory and I may have a specific problem that he has time to allocate to me. But when you have a hurricane like this, there is no way, not that he's not trying, but when you have that many people that he needs to respond to, he cannot. I think the BPU should require during certain times that they bring in their own crisis team. I would have loved a rep just to be for, let's say, East Brunswick, Spotswood, South River, the surrounding towns. Give them 4 towns, and that way I can get better information. I could be more responsive to the residents. It makes it easier for the power companies to deal with that, but I can't force them to do that. The only one who has that ability is the Board of Public Utilities. So again, I would encourage residents who, felt that the power companies might have let them down. send a note to our state legislators, send a note to the Board of Public Utilities, forward it to my office. I'll be glad to put a whole package together because that's one of the things that I'm going to be working on, in the aftermath of the storm.
Well, it's good to know there's a way to reach out about that. Who's who contact on that.
Right. Well, again, the most important would be obviously our state legislators, whether it's Senator Bono, excuse me, Assemblyman Dignan and Barnes, or like I said, send your comments to the mayor's office. Like I said, that's something that I look forward to working with the state on in terms of how they can improve it, because I don't have the power within the municipality to do it.
And I think sometimes people forget that too as well, that you're dealing with many different people when you're dealing with these kind of issues.
Right. The other thing I'd like to say is that throughout this entire storm, I think East Brunswick as well, the state of New Jersey, but I'll only speak, as the residents of East Brunswick, I've said at many different events, we are a caring community. I mean, the number of people that felt that they were in good shape, whether they had heat or whatnot, or they just had tremendous caring hearts, provided hot food for some of our seniors. The folks at Trinity Presbyterian Church opened their doors, and they were our first shelter. They were tremendous in terms of assisting those in need. St. Mary's Coptic Church also opened their doors. Our relationship with the Board of Education was great. The night of the storm, we evacuated based on the original reports with respect to the tidal surge that was coming in and the rain. We evacuated certain sections of the historic district, but once the storm hit and additional forecasts were coming in, we actually evacuated more individuals. So the night of the storm, I was out there with the police knocking on doors, getting people out of the house in the middle of the storm, and we spoke with the Board of Education. They opened up Hammersholt as an emergency evacuation center. They sent buses and bus drivers in the midst of the storm to assist us. So I want to thank Dr. Magistro and the Board of Education for assisting the township in helping the residents. After the storm hit, we've got a number of active adult facilities, whether it's Hall's Corner, Oak Creek, the Waterford, or Cedar Village. A number of them did not have generators, and it was cold. So I sent 2 members of the township staff along with the police officer just to make sure. Some people are uncomfortable opening doors, to go door by door knocking on our seniors to see what their needs are, whether it was medical, did they have food, did they have heat, just to make an assessment while those buildings came back online. The township was very supportive of each other. So again, one thing, you say, what can residents do each other? Again, know who your neighbors are, know who may be in need. You may be in great shape, but how about your neighbors?
Absolutely. And a lot of neighbors did also, we've seen, reach out to their neighbors, have them over when there was no heat and no supplies for them. What can they do now? A lot of folks have been saying to me, we would like maybe to give toys to kids for the holidays, people in need. Are there anyone in specific that we should direct that to?
Well, right here in East Brunswick, I don't know of anyone in particular. We were not devastated like the shore communities or even like Sayreville, which had suffered tremendously. I would ask them, whatever their normal avenue is in terms of giving, whether it's through their church, their synagogue, or some of the other social agencies, contact them. I know there's concerts going on to benefit some folks in Sayreville. The Temple B'nai Shalom did some efforts to benefit Union Beach. There's a million avenues that you can do. On a township standpoint, look, we have a number of families that the recreation helps out during the holiday time, so I would ask folks maybe open up their hearts and their pocketbook, donate extra money to the recreation department so that we can make sure those families in need have a nice Thanksgiving. With Christmas coming up and Hanukkah coming up later, the Marine Corps with their Toys for Tot program in East Brunswick, usually through the VFW, is another avenue they can do it. But I'll always say that the recreation department in our town can always be used as a focal point. Mike Reisner and his staff will always make sure that whatever's donated gets to the appropriate agency, so those in need will benefit from it.
That's a great program. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you on behalf of the township for all that you did during the storm, and thankful. Hopefully it'll be a quieter 4 years, fewer storms, and we wish you and your administration all the best.
Thanks, Barbara, and thanks for doing everything that you've done over the time that you hosted Tell East Brunswick. You and I are going to talk about how that's going to continue, but in all sincerity, I appreciate everything that you've done to make sure, we talk about public information, EBTV and shows like this that you've done, help educate our residents, keep them informed, and I think that's the best thing the government can do. So thank you.
Thank you. We're glad to have you back on the show. And with that, this is Barbara Reiss closing for Totally East Brunswick. Thank you for joining us.